Great.
Welcome and thank you for joining us for our presentation today. Thank you to our hosts, the Human Rights Education Institute, and our partners with the Civic Engagement Alliance for inviting us to participate today. We'd also like to take a moment to say thank you to United Way of North Idaho, our project sponsor. So today, what we're going to be doing is I will share a little bit about the AmeriCorps VISTA project and what is AmeriCorps VISTA, as well as AmeriCorps' legacy in conjunction with the MLK Day of Service, National Day of Service. And then we'll hear from our amazing VISTA project members as they share about their years of service. So to start off, what is AmeriCorps VISTA? So VISTA stands for Volunteers in Service to America. Sorry, I always want to say AmeriCorps there. And when you join the VISTA project, you're joining 270,000 VISTA members across the country at 40,000 locations across the country, and a network of over 1 million alumni. Here in Idaho, we have a project of over 8 members at more than 7 locations across the state. AmeriCorps VISTA serves in different sectors, different anti-poverty sectors, for healthy futures, veterans affairs, environmental stewardship, disaster response, economic opportunity, and we are an education project. And one of the things that I think is really cool about AmeriCorps service is it's not just service to perform service. AmeriCorps VISTA is really about capacity building. And what does this mean? AmeriCorps likes to say that we fight poverty by helping an organization to expand its capacity to create change. This can look like fundraising, grant writing, volunteer recruitment, and many other types of systems development that's intended to increase the capacity of the organization long after the VISTA member has left. In addition to this, on a personal level, AmeriCorps VISTA puts a lot of effort into the professional development and networking that come from the experience that can set you up for a life of service in public, private, or nonprofit sector. When we think about who can serve, I think it's worthy of noting today that AmeriCorps really does support diversity and inclusion beyond racial diversity and ability. We also recruit from people of all backgrounds, recent graduates, young professionals, people mid-career who are looking for a little bit of a change, or retirees. Everyone can find a place to serve in AmeriCorps VISTA. Some of the benefits of service include a living allowance, money for college and trade school through the AmeriCorps Siegel Education Award. If you currently have federal student loans, you can go into loan deferment and receive interest forbearance from AmeriCorps. As I mentioned, there is so much that you can learn from your experience in terms of professional development. And as I mentioned as well, you join a network of more than 1 million AmeriCorps members across the state and across the country. And I can't tell you how many times I've been networking and shared that I was an AmeriCorps member and found that so was the person who I was chatting with. And in terms of today, the Martin Luther King National Day of Service, AmeriCorps was really kind of at the heart when this was passed in Congress as National Day of Service. For more than 26 years now, AmeriCorps has really led the campaign to have Martin Luther King National Day of Service be a day on, not just a day off. And so I'm going to share this piece of Martin Luther King's famous speech, "The Other America," because it feels very apt today as we face such divisiveness in our country. And he said, "I use this title because there are literally 2 Americas. Every city in our country has this kind of dualism, this schizophrenia split at so many parts. And so every city ends up being 2 cities rather than 1. There are two Americas. One America is beautiful for situation. In this America, millions of people have the milk of prosperity and the honey of equality flowing before them. This America is the habitat of millions of people who have food and material necessities for their bodies, culture and education for their minds, freedom and human dignity for their spirits. In this America, children grow up in the sunlight of opportunity. But there is another America. This other America has a daily ugliness about it that transforms the buoyancy of hope into the fatigue of despair. And I share this quote because I think today we can often get wrapped up in sharing a lot of the positivity that MLK represents in our culture. But I think as AmeriCorps VISTA members, we recognize this duality in our country, and we are committed to transforming to be a more just society, and by fighting poverty and committing to service. And so with that, I am going to agree with Dr. MLK in that everyone can be great because everyone can serve. And I am going to pass the baton to some of our service members. So first up, we have from the Human Rights Education Institute, Kathy Gerko, our Community Engagement and Resource VISTA. So Kathy, you can go ahead and take it away.
Good afternoon. I'm glad to be here today, and I'm glad we have some attendees. Next slide. This is where the Human Rights Education Center is located in City Park in Coeur d'Alene. It's a 1904 railroad battery station and behind me is our gallery, a work of art, produced these beautiful paintings. They're one of our partners. Terry Hansen works with disabled students, and they're coming back in February as well. Next slide, please. Can I move this? Okay. I was very glad to have this assignment because I've learned quite a bit about Martin Luther King Day, which I didn't know before. And 25 years ago, MLK Day was embraced as a day on, not a day off, according to the Washington Post article that I read. Congress, anyway, the values and objectives of the AmeriCorps VISTA program and MLK Day of Service are in keeping with the mission and vision of the Human Rights Education Institute. And it's only through education that we can overcome fear that leads to curiosity and acceptance. So with encouragement and respect, all humans can thrive. Next slide, please. My year of service has been quite profound. Dr. King recognized the power of service and the difference individuals can make in their communities. I'm honored to serve under the AmeriCorps VISTA at HREI, helping to make a difference in the education of our citizens, which will lead out of the dungeon of poverty. Education at HREI has made me very aware of language and terms, and I'm very grateful for the education I have received in cultural humility, acceptance versus tolerance, the meanings of diversity, equity, and inclusion, as taught by Dr. Scott Finney. We attended a diversity seminar at MIC. But I really didn't have an understanding of what these terms meant. And the way Dr. Finney described it, diversity is differences in people. Equity and inclusion is it's like diversity is being asked to the dance. This is how he described it. He was so quite profound. inclusion is being asked to them. And I never understood those differences. Uh, I've learned a lot here over at HREI, and I'm honored to have helped with capacity building. A nonprofit organization depends on their volunteers to carry out the duties that are necessary just to have the organization function and forward their mission. And it's been really great having them participating in this process. Kootenai County has an interesting history in the realm of human rights around white supremacy, of which I was unaware before I came to work at HREI. This amazing community has people like Tony Stewart, founder of the Kootenai County Task Force on Human Relations, who just celebrated their birthday. They're 40 years old. But they spawned the Human Rights Education Institute because the organization realized that without education and knowledge, change cannot occur in our society. And HREI is addressing many prominent social justice topics through campaigns such as Love Lives Here and the Human Rights Consortium that was birthed maybe 4 months ago. The organization is a very active social justice change maker, providing a neutral, safe space to incubate ideas and promote education on how to make our community and world a better place within its mission. Next slide, please. So our HREI began in December of 1998, evolving from the, as I said, the Kootenai County Task Force on Human Relations to create an educational center created to serve our community in the Inland Northwest. Our volunteers compose our board of directors, executive directorship, committees, administrative personnel, program leaders, and all of our general volunteers. Volunteers are the heart of our organization, and without them, HREI would be non-operational. They're composed of educators and retired educators, students, business and professional people, AmeriCorps VISTA volunteers, senior citizens, and more. And some of our partner organizations, such as VISTA, Emerge, and NIC, offer their expertise in such areas as art, history, and social justice as the needs arise. Next slide, please. And these are some of the volunteers that work with us. In the far left is Jason Tapany, who is our board president. In the center, you might recognize Lisa, who was the AmeriCorps VISTA leader before Sydney came on board. And I recently spoke with Lisa, and she is now working as a geologist in Nevada. She just moved. So that's what she'll be doing. The other two, this is from the VISTA conference at the beginning of March that I was, it was a great conference to go to for Just Serve Idaho. I forget. The two other people worked with the Free to Succeed program, Kathy and Todd. They were very nice. We had some conversations there. In the far right is Chris Brooks, and she is our, these pictures are elevated. Chris Brooks, she is our intern coordinator, and HREI offers internships to students and high school students, or people who just want to come in and do an internship, and they work with Chris to forward our mission and their knowledge base. And then we have some Love Lives Here, Sean and Vicki from Love Lives Here campaign. This is one of our readers that has come in before for our students to enrich their cultural knowledge. And of course, this is our HRAI crew. Next slide, please. And in our courtyard, we have the Universal Declaration of Human Rights carved in stone. And if you get a chance to come by and see that, Jeanette took this nice picture of me. Next slide, please. And so where do we go from here? And I think with our combined missions, we can make it and make our world a better place. The end. Any questions? I guess. Thank you, Sydney.
All right, thank you so much, Kathy. I really appreciate that. So I hope that gives you all a peek into what it's like to serve at the Human Rights Education Institute. Up next, I am going to welcome our two VISTA members from Gizmo CDA. First up, we have our Development Coordinator VISTA, Alina Grunwald. So Alina, I'll let you take it away.
Wonderful, thank you, Sydney. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, so Gizmo CDA is a makerspace located here in Coeur d'Alene. And Gizmo really truly has something for everyone, and I really can't embellish that point enough. We have everything from long arm quilters to a complete wood shop to 3D printers. So no matter what you're interested in, you can find it here at Gizmo. And so to simplify things a little bit, we can think of Gizmo as having three main areas of expertise. They offer classes which are open to the community to learn about and use all of the technology available here at Gizmo. In addition, we offer an innovative education program, which today is Erin's area of expertise, who you will hear from next. And that program focuses on giving teachers and students the tools they need to make hands-on learning impactful. And the newest venture at Gizmo is the Micro Entrepreneurial Center, which aims to support entrepreneurs through micro grants, mentors, and more. And so with everything going on at Gizmo, it would be really easy to lose sight of the individual. However, Gizmo is welcoming to all, they are accessible to all, and they provide opportunities for all. One of Gizmo's taglines is K through Gray, meaning everyone of any age should be able to learn something new in a supportive environment. And Gizmo really keeps empathy at the heart of everything they do. We know people learn differently and have had different life experiences. And so Gizmo offers that compassion to everyone who walks through the door. And Gizmo also realizes that poverty doesn't just mean a lack of money. It's also a lack of resources and opportunities, which is why Gizmo offers free camps, classes, kits, and other resources to children who may not have the chance to experience the tools and technologies that Gizmo offers at home or at school. And so with everything that Gizmo does, we rely really heavily on community volunteers and community members to keep things running. So now I'll turn things over to Erin to share a little bit more about the specific service projects that Gizmo has been involved in.
Thanks, Alina. My name is Erin, and I'm the Innovative Professional Development VISTA at Gizmo. And I just said that same thing right there. So at Gizmo, we really do believe in empowering through doing. We work to build creative confidence and curiosity through programs that give all people access to tools, technologies, and mentors. We also believe, therefore, in Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s statement that everyone can be great because everybody can serve. These pictures are just a few examples, both pre and post-COVID, of some of the things that we're doing at Gizmo to serve. On the left, you see a young man working with some 3D modeling. He's a part of the Idaho Makers Equity Project there, where we printed educational 3D models for visually impaired students across the state. In the middle, you'll see some of our students at the steam-powered summer camp, steam-powered making summer camp, where we were doing hands-on learning about our local watershed and helping to remind people that our storm drains in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho go right into our lake, so to please help it clean. And then the two gentlemen on the right were helping to install a ceiling, which was actually an evolution of an artistic drawing to a fiber optic ceiling for TESH, which is a private not-for-profit organization in Coeur d'Alene, whose core purpose is to provide choices and opportunities to people with disabilities of all ages who are seeking greater opportunities, self-sufficiency, and participation in their community. This idea went from a drawing to CAD design to final cuts on the CNC at Gizmo before lights were also placed and installation was complete. The ceiling in this dark room removes bright or high volume lights and replaces it with slow change LEDs in fiber optic bundles to allow people to watch the color change and create a calming environment. So this is my second year serving as a VISTA at Gizmo. And in the first school year, big part of what I was doing was engaging teachers and building capacities in that way. In the 2019-2020 school year, we engaged at least 98 pre-service teachers, 127 teachers were trained through our professional development. We made 47 co-thinking partners, and we have over 200 items in our lending library that recently moved on campus to Gizmo, so we can help serve teachers and students by putting more hands-on opportunities within their reach. So the thing that I really love about all the things we were doing last year and this year is this is a small quantity. I think the numbers continue to rise for sure. But on the right there, you can see all of the different professional development topics that we've created and delivered. And then also it talks a little bit about curating learning resources for online. When the pandemic started and everything closed down, we realized really quickly that we had some opportunities to do things differently and make sure that people were still being served, even though some of the things were definitely changing. So we curated a lot of online learning resources for both teachers and students at that point. And then also, like Alina talked about, we're delivering learning kits for at-risk children, and we are continuing to develop new ones there as well. So starting into this school year, the 2020-2021, some of the things that we have planned are some individual school professional development. Word is definitely getting out there, and our schools are interested in what we're talking about. The thing that I love about the previous slide when we talked about being co-thinkers is we really think it's important to talk to all people, not from a deficit perspective, but knowing that we can come alongside them and say, hey, what are you learning? How can we help? And that's, I think, honestly, my absolute favorite part about serving at Gizmo is that we really do want to help. We're not there to teach them how to do something different, but just what are you interested in and how can we help? And so we have schools that are coming to us now asking us to be a part of what they're doing at their school, which is fantastic. We're also developing a couple of different summer institutes for teachers so that we will have teachers that will come and we'll learn together about things that they're passionate about. And then they'll be able to spend time after that teaching students about that. We are continuing, like I said, to build kits for students all around. And also we obtained some grant money to be able to continue purchasing both for our lending library kits and for the kits for lower income needs. And then we're also developing curricula for all of that as well. The thing I think I'm absolute most excited about as one of our goals for this year is also amplifying youth voices. We have, like Alina said, all ages at Gizmo, and I think it's so important to be able to talk to the children and youth of our community, not only just to get them involved, but honestly for us to get involved in what they're interested in. And so I think that's one of my favorite things this year is that we are really going to work to amplify youth voices and make sure that we can support them in the ways that they want to be a part of our community. I was able to hear a lot of years ago that the youth are our future, but they're also our present. And that has stuck with me, and I'm really excited to get to focus on what they want to do in this present here in Coeur d'Alene. And so as you can see with all of these pictures, just for a couple of random choices, lots of things. It was hard to make choices what to include here, but of things that we did over the last couple of years and will continue to do. We really do believe that everyone can be great because everybody can serve. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Erin and Alina. Does anyone have any questions for them? Give a moment. Okay, well, up next, we have from United Way of Idaho Falls and Bonneville County, our VISTA Community Solutions and Action Plan Coordinator, Anna Kimbrough. So Anna, I'll let you take it away.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's doing good. So my name is Anna Kimbrough, like Sydney mentioned, and I am the AmeriCorps VISTA here in Eastern Idaho and Idaho Falls. I grew up here, so I feel super grateful that I get to give back in a community that I grew up in. So United Way focuses on financial well-being, health, and education. We do a lot of fundraising, and then we give that money directly back into our community with our local nonprofits here. I started in June, so that was in the middle of the pandemic, and so I was able to see a lot of the positive work United Way was able to do. And whether it was volunteering, helping out at other organizations, or providing food for backpacks to send home, it's been extremely humbling to see how we've come together to help everyone. So I wanted to include our mission statement, which is improving people's lives by mobilizing the caring power of our community. I think that mission statement aligns really well with MLK, Dr. MLK's quote, you can be great if you can serve. So I wanted, you can go to the next slide. Yep. I wanted to talk about a project I was able to work on this summer or late summer, was kindergarten boot camp. This is a project United Way does in other parts of Idaho and also other regions in the United States. And so kindergarten boot camp is a program aimed towards students that do not have any previous education experience, and to make sure that they are ready by the time that they start kindergarten. So we introduce early numerical concepts and literary concepts, as well as focusing on positive social development as well. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Obviously, this year is a little bit different, so we were unsure if we were going to be able to have an in-person program, and this was the first of its kind in its region. So, you know, we had to adapt and kind of figure out how we're going to do this. But after hearing that the schools were going to go ahead and open, we felt like this was a really good opportunity to also introduce some mitigation strategies to COVID. So we were practicing mask wearing and more frequent hand washing, sanitizing tables, and social distancing. So we had two groups, one in the morning and one in the afternoon, with no more than 10 people. That way we were being safe. So go ahead and go to the next slide. In total, we served 16 students, and we did a variety of activities. We did a scavenger hunt locating different locations in the school, such as the playground or the cafeteria, the library, as well as the principal's office. We had an INL STEM kit, and we made globophones, which are a music instrument to learn about sound waves. We also invited the Idaho Falls Aquarium, and so they brought in a porcupine from Africa. This was a really great activity for the students because they really had to practice those social skills of following directions and listening to the instructor. So it was really fun overall. In addition to planning the activities, we provided food for both the students and their families. This was super important because we did this at a school that has a high free and reduced lunch rate. So to provide that for not only the students, but for their families as well was also vital for this program. So you can go to the next slide. At the end, we had a barbecue and a little graduation party. So we provided them all with certificates saying you're ready for kindergarten. And the principal was there, and so she was able to introduce herself and kind of build that relationship with the family so that they felt comfortable with the school as well. And we also gave good books to all of the students, so that was really fun. Overall, it was a super positive first program, and I'm looking forward to expanding this. We saw improvements in behavior and familiarity with early kindergarten concepts, as well as confidence with the families as well. So I think that social piece was a huge part of this kindergarten boot camp. So yeah, so if there's any questions, let me know. And I'm super grateful to have been able to do this in person and have such a positive feedback from the school and the families as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anna. Okay. And so next we have from our partners at Family Promise of the Palouse in Moscow, Idaho, our volunteer recruitment and education specialist, VISTA, Abby McGarry. So Abby.
Hi, okay. Thank you, Sydney. My name is Abby, and I'm serving my AmeriCorps year at Family Promise of the Palouse in Moscow. And we're a family homeless shelter that serves both Latah and Whitman counties, so Moscow and Pullman and the surrounding area. So our goal is to end family homelessness on the Palouse, but we want to keep families experiencing homelessness together while we do that. So my role is the volunteer education and recruitment specialist. And I feel really lucky to witness MLK's famous quote in action as the volunteer coordinator. I also went to the University of Idaho, so it's been cool to do this work in the community that I have been part of for so long. Okay, so building community and strengthening lives. Like I said, we're a family homeless. We serve any families. They can be multi-generational families, single parent families, pregnant women. Yeah, we provide immediate shelter and we help families get sustainable housing and lasting independence. And it's more than just giving them a place to stay or an apartment. We try to give them an independence and empower them. So we do that through our 3 Ps. Those are prevent, provide, and prepare. So we try to prevent homelessness before it happens and before a family has to experience the trauma of becoming homeless. So we can provide rental assistance if someone is facing eviction. We also provide financial coaching, and we like to focus on future generations and educating children so that we can break the generational cycle of poverty. And then we provide immediate shelter, and we provide essential items. We provide parenting classes and job placement training programs. And then we prepare our families for when they graduate from our program with life skills training and community connections and resources. Okay. Yeah, we also provide education programs. So part of our volunteer program includes training on the misconceptions of homelessness. So we often think homelessness as a condition or a situation that occurs because of a series of bad decisions. But it's actually a symptom of a broken social system throughout the US. So a lack of affordable housing, employment discrimination, residential segregation, and a lack of access to mental health resources, which is a huge issue here in Idaho specifically. So by training our volunteers, not only are they like giving back and helping us operate, but they're also helping us like get to the root cause of homelessness by starting with switching their perception and learning about the issue. So a little bit about our impact. COVID, we work through an interfaith hospitality network. So we partner with 30 congregations throughout Moscow and Pullman. And typically they would host our families for 1 week, provide them with an overnight stay and hot meals every day. But because of it, we had to switch to a hotel model. So all of our families are now sheltering overnight in a local hotel. So I think it's a huge accomplishment that we've just been able to function and continue operating through COVID. And so since the beginning of the pandemic, I think the numbers have changed a little bit, but since March, we've served over 42 individuals, 24 children, I think 16 families. We also shelter pets, so families don't have to go through the additional trauma of losing their family pet. So we shelter 6 pets, I think, and 1 pregnant woman. Since we opened in 2013, we've also logged over 50,000 volunteer hours. So volunteers are a huge part of making sure we can operate. I'm sure it's the same with tons of other nonprofits. But you can go to the next slide. Yeah, so when I started as a volunteer recruit, essentially, I thought the hardest part of my job would be finding volunteers to help us. It's actually been the easiest part because there's so many people that are willing to help us and want to give back. Especially because we're located with 2 major universities, the University of Idaho and Washington State. So we have so many students and congregation members looking to volunteer, and it's been more difficult managing them and making sure that they can come in our safe spacely and interact with our families safely due to COVID. So because of our small staff, there's only 3 of us at Family Promise of the Palouse. So we rely on volunteers to do our cleaning and sanitizing and sorting our donations. They also move our families in their new housing. They take our trash to the dump. They do everything. So they're a really crucial part of being able to do what we do. Also, not only do they kind of do the everyday things around our center, but they also do supply drives. So we had a local Girl Scout troop with their Girl Scout cookie money. They got $800 worth of essential items for our families. They also made 50 handmade notes of encouragement for kids experiencing homelessness. So that was a really special thing that they did. We had Schweitzer Engineering Lab and a fraternity at Washington State University. They raised enough money to buy all of our families in our program this holiday season with Christmas presents. And we also have Moscow High School. Their period club is doing a menstrual supply drive for women experiencing homelessness. So those are just some examples of the way our community has been serving. Yeah, it's been like a really bright light in a difficult year with COVID to be able to witness everybody wanting to give back. Yeah. If you have any questions, yeah, please ask me, and I'm going to put the link to our website here in the chat box.
Awesome. Thank you, Abby. I really appreciate that. Okay. So up next, we should have from Coeur d'Alene District 271, our Hope on the Homefront VISTA, Lindsay Gruel, but she wasn't able to join us today, so I will be presenting on her behalf. So to share a little bit about Lindsay, she graduated in May 2020 from the University of Idaho with a degree in Family, Child, and Youth Development. She considers her degree to be between teaching counseling and social work. After graduating, she struggled to find a job where she could use her degree and passions. She's very passionate about helping others, teaching and giving out resources. So she joined this position to meet other professionals and to strengthen her work in helping others. So Lindsay is part of the McKinney-Vento project. Originally, her position was supposed to be part of CDA for Kids, which is a free after-school program run by a grant that's been around for over 15 years. But to her surprise, on the first day, the grant didn't go through. And so the position had to transition a little bit. So she's been helping out with the McKinney-Vento program, which is a government grant that allows for homeless students to attend school and helps provide them with some basic needs. Originally, if a child didn't have an address, they couldn't register for school. But with the McKinney-Vento Act, schools now provide meals and transportations to students so that they don't experience a disruption of their education. And one thing that she found really interesting was that to be qualified as homeless, it doesn't necessarily mean, like most of us imagine, that you're without a home, living on the streets. It can be something like having to live with a relative, just not having your own your own home. So the Hope on the Home Front is the name of the project at the CDA district. And this past year with COVID, the program has had 239 registered homeless families, which actually is lower from last year. And they believe part of the reason is because with COVID, the district has been offering free school meals to everyone instead of just those who register as part of the project, which is interesting. But the goal of the project is to remove barriers, build bridges, and create those community connections that we all need. So over the past year, the grant, the McKinney-Vento grant, funds mostly go towards transportation. So the program really does rely on donations to help with school supplies and clothing. At the start of the school year, there wasn't much around in terms of school supplies, but in October, they were lucky to receive an $8,000 donation from Walmart with school supplies that had been left over from the beginning of the school year. They also have a shopper who buys clothes through what they call their Guardian Angel program. It's one of their volunteer opportunities. And they also receive large amounts of donations from Children's Village, another nonprofit in our community that actually has a VISTA position that will be opening up. And they've also received donations through the NIC volleyball team. Some of the challenges they face with the donations is trying to figure out where to store all the supplies and which families to give them to, since they can be so variable in their availability. And they share a lot of their supplies with various schools in the district. So Lindsay's big passion is sharing resources, and some of the resources that she has been able to share this year have been through St. Vincent de Paul. They have an amazing resource booklet that you can actually reach out to them and they will offer you free copies of, which is a fun fact. And she's also working, so Kootenai Health has a branch of Aunt Bertha, which is a local resource website where you can go find kind of like some very tailored results to your needs in your community. And Kootenai Health does a great job of managing that. But one of the things that Lindsay's noticed is when it comes to search engine optimization, this doesn't come up very high in the search results still. So she's looking into making QR stickers to provide to families so that they can find it more easily. One meaningful part of Lindsay's experience also was working with Second Harvest through Kiwanis. She was able to help out with a big food drive they offered. And yeah, one of the things that I feel like she really learned was just kind of how great the need has been this year when it comes to food supplies, especially as a result of homelessness and COVID. So potentially in the future, Lindsay's also working on establishing a volunteer program. So currently, families, when they come register for the McKinney-Vento Act, there is a little bit of a bottleneck in ability to reach out to each of the families for follow-up. So her goal is to create a volunteer program with 20 volunteers to contact those families and kind of keep in communication and connection with all of them and have a better gauge on their needs so that they can tailor those donation requests to what families are looking for. Something they've noticed in the past is having, like, for example, an overflow of girls' clothing when there are families with young boys and there's just nothing in their closets that's appropriate. So just a good example of building capacity as a VISTA. Also, moving forward in the 2021 to 2022 school year, that original CDA for Kids grant is being reapplied for. So the goal is to have 4 free after school clubs that take place an hour before school and 2 hours after school, which hopefully we will have some VISTA members serving to support. And that is the end of Lindsay's presentation. So if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message in the chat and I would be happy to connect you with Lindsay as well, because I'm sure she'd love to share more. Yeah, so that kind of brings us to the end of our service reflections. And I'm just going to take a few minutes here to share about some upcoming opportunities. So as I mentioned, AmeriCorps really likes to say that Martin Luther King Jr. Day is not just a national holiday, a day off, but it really is a day on, a day to serve and give back to your community. And I invite you all to consider extending your MLK Day of Service into a service year. And so just on these next few slides, I have our upcoming openings and opportunities. So starting in April 2021, with applications due early March, in Coeur d'Alene, HREI will be opening up their community engagement and resource VISTA position to replace Kathy, who we will be very sad to lose. They're also actively recruiting for a higher education hero project, which works more with secondary education. Also in Richfield, Idaho, a new position is opening at the Lincoln County Youth Center, where they have some really great energy going over there. It's a rural community that is looking for more outlets for their young teens to be connected. And after having met with some of the women who are running it, I'm really excited to see how that position blooms. In June, Anna will be leaving us. And so down in Idaho Falls, at United Way of Idaho Falls in Bonneville County, that VISTA Community Solutions Action Plan Coordinator position will be opening up. I think right in the midst of kindergarten boot camp, if you're interested in taking on that challenge. And then in July, I will be finishing my position at United Way of North Idaho as AmeriCorps VISTA leader. So if you want to kind of have your hands in everybody's projects and just kind of get a view for the great work going on in this project, I highly recommend. And yeah, so kind of in the future, we are looking to reconnect in Coeur d'Alene with Children's Village. In late summer and fall, we don't have official application due dates yet, but in Coeur d'Alene, again, at the district, we will be reopening that CDA for Kids position to hopefully support their after school programming. In October, Erin and Alina will both be finished with their contracts at Gizmo, so those positions will open. And in September at Family Promise, Abby's position will reopen. So to keep abreast of all this, I invite you to follow us on Instagram at our Best Future for Idaho Youth Project. That'll be the best place to keep up to date on all of our deadlines. And so that brings us to our conclusion for our presentation today. I want to take another moment to really say thank you to the Human Rights Education Institute and the Civic Engagement Alliance for organizing this. A big thank you to United Way of North Idaho, our project sponsor. And of course, thank you to all of our amazing VISTAs for joining us today and sharing about their experiences. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and jump right in. I need to check this chat. Everyone put their links in, awesome. Okay, great. Well, I think that brings us to our end today. So thank you, everyone. And yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeanette.
Thank you.